Hello.
Hi.
There we go. We're live. How's it going, everybody? Welcome.
I actually was waiting for a response.
welcome.
Talk to me through the phones. Talk to me through the cameras.
It's Wednesday night.
I feel like we're in a magical mood, as it were.
Kinda. It's our review of last week's episode of WandaVision, and then we're gonna discuss what we think might happen for the finale. So I'll throw it over to Michael. Over to you, mate.
So my opinions of that episode are, first and foremost, I'm very happy that it was 47 minutes.
Yeah, it was nice to see something a little bit longer.
And, yeah. And not much more to really say about it. It was kind of interesting, I guess, reliving all of those moments from the past. Spoiler alert. But I'm not going to delve into them. It was very much kind of like interesting that the whole theme of the show so far to this point has been sitcoms and television and whatnot, right? So this episode was what? This episode was a flashback episode. You know, like a rerun episode that they used to do in sitcoms where they got lazy and they didn't have anything they wanted to tell a story about. So they were like, hey, let's just remember when this happened earlier in the season? A clip show. The Simpsons parody at that one time.
Yeah. So my thoughts, it was a different way of storytelling this week. It was very linear in the way it went. And as you said, we've completely gone away from the sitcom format, which is what we were expecting for the last two.
No, but you didn't listen to what I was saying. We haven't, in a sense. This was like a clip show episode,
kinda, but
telling us things that we don't know.
Yeah, but it wasn't mimicking a certain sitcom, whereas we've had for the entire series it mimicked different sitcoms in different eras.
But I'll finish my thoughts though.
Yep.
As far as what we learn, it's all interesting. It's all cool. But it's like, well, what do we make of it? It's more rounds of everybody theory crafting and coming up with the crazy bullshit stuff that probably won't happen, just so we can pacify ourselves until the finale next week. Which I hope, given that this penultimate episode was more of a data dump and a mind blown kind of episode, I'm hoping that the finale is an action-packed Marvel Cinematic Universe final Skybeam climax.
No Skybeam.
But you know what I'm saying. I expect I expect things to be resolved. There was a few things resolved in this episode, such as again, don't really want to go into spoilers, but there was a few things resolved in this episode which was kind of good. It wasn't complete filler, right? It wasn't just leaving you open to wondering what the hell's going on. There was definite resolutions to certain plot threads and plot lines at the same time as finding out new stuff as well. So I thought that was why, even though the episode was 47 minutes long and lots of cool stuff happened, it was just kind of meh to me.
So first off, I enjoyed it. Secondly, I don't think it was meh. I think the introduction of the new character that we were alluded to at the end of the previous episode, Agatha, and seeing her motivation through this episode, I really liked, because I got a sense of she's not a bad guy, she's not a good guy. She treads a very...
Yeah, it's good character development, yeah.
Yeah,
But we also got good character development from Wanda as well, don't forget.
Well, yeah, because we also, with her development, we got to see parts of her past which have only been kind of alluded to.
Mm-hmm.
And then also certain things that she did in the past that got our theory crafting there going. Anyway,
I just wanted to say one last thing, though, before you give your overall thoughts. I do think that it was very interesting that this was super linear. There was no outside the hex stuff, really, minimal anyway. There was nothing with Monica. It was all just Agatha Harkness and I don't know why I want to say Scarlett Johansson. Scarlet Witch. Well, Wanda working together to work through like what was going on and finally reveal to us and get us to the bottom of all of the mystery.
Well, it came
It's
across-
actually kind of interesting now that I say that, because everything was resolved. Everything was resolved before new things were brought up. That's something a lot of TV series, a lot of streaming TV series don't do very well. They usually always keep asking questions and keep bringing up questions and try to stick the landing in the finale, hoping that all the plot threads get resolved. Whereas this was really good because you get all of that stuff resolved, so that now we're free to go on to a finale, which is essentially an open book.
Well, this was like a pre-finale, and this week's finale will set up what comes after WandaVision. Is how I kind of got it.
So there, I'm done. You go now.
So that's how I felt this one. This was the finale to the show, and finale to the sitcom part of the show. And then this week's finale will be the setup for what's to come. Whether it'll link into the Winter Soldier and Falcon, we probably think it's going to link into Loki and definitely link into the Doctor Strange movie.
Well, everything links.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I loved Catherine Hahn as Agatha when she came after coming out the week before.
Coming out?
Yeah. Her portrayal. Her de-aged self, which made her look like a late teen, early 20s, and she's not that old anyway. But I thought the effects there were good. I liked her motivation of why she's doing what she's doing. And then I liked the ending. I just thought it set up what we hope is going to be, as you say, a Marvel blockbuster finale, but with no sky beams, please. Anyway, fuck that. Let's get into spoilers.
Well, no, I just wanted to say one last thing, though, but that's correct in what I was saying, that all of the outstanding plot threads were resolved, and then they were all shoehorned into this one big one. You are the...
Yeah,
and
so
let's spoil that later on.
Let's get into spoilers then. Away you go.
Okay, so we're going to do as we always do, we're going to do a rundown scene by scene of the episode.
And what we thought.
Have my notes. Pen and paper, good old-fashioned, old school.
Well, pen and paper don't eat bandwidth.
Yeah. So we open up in Salem, Massachusetts, Whoa, in 1693. So it's not actually the Salem witch trials, but it's
a trial of a witch by witches.
It's basically saying, these are those witches, and Agatha is one of them. She is part of a coven, and we find out through her sisters in the coven and her mother that she has basically been practicing dark magic, forbidden magics, and so they are putting her to death. She claims to be innocent in this.
Hang on. Do you think they're putting her to death, or do you think they're trying to strip her of her powers? I don't think they're trying to kill her. I think they're trying to suck all.
They're trying to punish her.
Yeah,
so the beat's the same.
Because
I do think they were trying to kill her, though, because it's a very witch thing to do.
I think at the end of what happens in the opening scene, they're probably saying we got to kill her right now. But I think initially they were trying to strip her of her powers.
It's still irrelevant, though. It's like the point. The beat is they were punishing her for doing dark magic, and she finds out and has a revelation in that moment that she is more powerful than them and can defeat them.
Well,
you walk away from that with that.
I got it that. Her saying, no, don't do this to me, please, don't, stop, whatever.
Yeah, she was playing the innocent.
I think she wanted them to connect with her magic so she could drain their magic. She had it in her mind to steal their power from the get-go.
Yeah, which kind of falls into what you were saying about whether or not we can trust her, the ambiguity behind whether she's a good guy or a bad guy. Which is something that's been quite prevalent in the whole series so far, because that's how we all feel about Wanda as well.
What did you make of the kind of blue crown that her mum was wearing?
I didn't until you brought it up.
You didn't see it?
Just tell me what you thought of it.
Well, I don't know. Obviously, the Scarlet Witch wears a crown, and this was a blue crown. So maybe the casts of witches, we know Agatha's purple, they're blue.
Well, we'll get to that.
I was going to say, maybe the different style of witches have... The lead witch has a certain... crown dependent on magic.
Yeah, sorry, I'm writing my notes for theory crafting for later.
So she kills them all and then fucks off into the sky.
She fucks off into the sky.
Yeah, she flies. Superman's it.
Does she?
Yeah.
Did I miss that? I watched it 3 times.
I did like one. Let's just jump back. One little touch I did like when they.
We haven't jumped forward yet, so continue.
When they did the Marvel scroll and it comes up Marvel Studios. I did like the fact that it was purple.
It turns purple.
Yeah, I thought that was a good thing. All right, so she flies off,
And then we cut to the present. We're back in the basement of Agatha Harkness's house, castle, whatever you want to call it. You were noting last week that was really, really big inside. TARDIS-like.
It's huge.
And she begins lecturing Wanda, saying it's like, it's finally glad to meet you. All this time I've been trying to give you hints on how to unlock what's going on, and finally I've gotten through to you. And she's basically telling us, the audience, that she is actually intrigued by Wanda and wants to figure out where her power comes from. And kind of like following on from the intro, as what you were saying, is now like you feel like she was tricking all of her sisters there to steal their power. She probably wants Wanda's power.
That's what I got from that entire scene before they move on to the thing. Is Agatha sensed the magic, so she could have been sat in a barista's in New York and sensed this magic, went to New Jersey to see what it was, saw what was going on, went inside to try and figure out what it is, because she can't make head nor tails of what this magic is. And it even comes across in that she can't believe that she can control people on the edge of town. What did she say?
Well,
magic on
autopilot. I've got a few notable quotes here, but before she even gets into any of that, she gives us a quick sort of like field training lesson on witchcraft and magic and whatnot.
Yeah, tells us some Harry Potter shit.
Tells us about all the spells and whatnot, and like a basic protection spell and all that, and how that's why Wanda can't use her powers. We also know that we knew this from last week. From I think one of Billy or Tommy says that he likes Agatha because he can't read her mind. So that was not so much that her mind is blank or anything, or she's trained to not, or it's a power she has. It's that she's using a charm on herself to keep her minds free from people who can read it.
When she goes around the ruins as well, and she says that, come on, this is basics, that these ruins are set out by the witch that puts down these ruins. Only their magic can be used here, and it's like that she can't believe that Wanda, who's done something so powerful, doesn't know the basics. And I think that's when it starts going through her head that she realizes that Wanda actually has no fucking clue how she's doing this.
Well, there's another notable quote. So she wants to know who Wanda is, and she says why, and it's basically because of what we've already discussed about how she's intrigued by Wanda, intrigued how she managed to get this far, and the quote being so many spells cast at once. So like that's obviously something Agatha can't do. She couldn't comprehend the power required in order to be able to create the hex, for instance. And also control all the minds of multiple people at the same time. So she's really blown away by the strength of Wanda's power, with that compounded with the amount of training that she's had. Yeah. Probably even thinks to herself, how did you get this far?
Yeah, I definitely got from that entire scene, I say that she's shocked that there's so much power and so much magic from somebody who doesn't know how they're doing it.
Yeah, it is interesting to point out, little side note here, she is a character in the MCU. Now, we only had Steve originally, someone who was really old, but we now have a character who's in the MCU who's alive still and is almost 400 years old. No, over 400 years. Because the Sorcerer Supreme, and I'm talking about
Tilda
Swinton's version. How old was she supposed to be?
Not that old.
Yeah. Well, this is the first instance of someone this old within the MCU.
Is it the first instance of our main heroes? Because obviously Dormammu is he's ever-living Eternal.
He lives outside of... Well, no, he doesn't live outside of time because that's how he defeats it.
Yeah,
but he's an extra-dimensional being. Yeah. The point being is we've never really had someone out of time before, except for Captain America. I guess you could say Captain Marvel's kind of out of time. Well, and Bucky. So the characters of Captain America, yeah. This is the first instance of someone since then.
Yeah.
So is she immortal?
Well, we don't get a real gist of how old Thor and Loki are as well.
I think we do know how old Thor is. I'd have to look it up. You can't quote me.
They could have been around way longer than.
But we also know, though, that Loki was found as a child at one point when Odin was around.
She's definitely the first terrestrial character, apart from Bucky and Captain America.
But it's like a cliche witch's power, right? That witches suck the life force from
children.
Well, not just children, but other people. They usually pick children because children have so much life
and easy to.
And they're also easy to ensnare, like Hansel and Gretel and whatnot. But
I was thinking Hocus Pocus, personally.
Well, Hocus Pocus is a kind of an homage to
the Salem witch trials.
Well, the Brothers Grimm and stuff and all that.
So.
Well, I had a thought though. I was going somewhere with that. So yeah, so is she immortal, or is it just the power that when she leached all that power from her sisters, did that give her extend her years?
Yeah, I don't think she's mortal because when we see her back in immortal, but when we see her back in Salem, she's young, and she's obviously aged somewhat till now.
Yeah, but we also don't know what immortality isn't a thing. We don't know how that would work. It's like elves in the Lord of the Rings. Like, what age do they stop aging?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So she might just age slowly by, like you say, sucking the life force.
That's more probable.
And maybe she sucked the life force out of Senor Scratchy, if that turns out to be a character, because she speaks to the bunny rabbit like it's a sentient thing.
It wouldn't surprise me if we find out there's something to that, or it could just be a Easter egg.
It's Mephisto.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay, then we move on, and we immediately, like I say, this is one of the positives of the episode, that it's super linear, and there's no other, we don't deal with Vision or anything. I can reveal that now. We don't deal with Vision or Darcy or Monica. Very limited information from outside the Hex.
Wanda and Agatha.
Yeah, it's most people will usually say, "Oh man, I really missed not having that character in this episode." But in this episode, it was in the defense of the episode. It made the episode better that we would just here we are with Wanda and Agatha learning all about all the stuff we've been wondering up until this point.
So I know in the comics, Agatha is a bit of a mentor to Wanda throughout.
She kind of is already throughout this episode.
That's what I was getting as this episode was going on, and Agatha's getting more and more information. It seems like that's the way I'm guessing this character and.
So anyway, we go to the first flashback. We go back to Sokovia, and it's almost kind of Christmas Carol like, in which that she's watching from the side.
Well, no, because she gets turned into herself.
She's watching from the side, and that she can basically step into the steps of her past self whenever she wants, like Ebenezer Scrooge does.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, because remember, it's just an illusion. I wasn't saying it was exactly the same.
Well, this is where
that's the kind of contradiction that we need to really, really, really break through and get through in conversation, because I do feel that's by design. Illusions are usually a good way of storytelling, because you can tell someone real quickly from just this little illusion what you're trying to say, because what you're alluding to is something similar. So basically in this whole setup of her going back in time with Agatha, we get the idea that, again, mentorship, Agatha being the spirits, Wanda trying to learn something about herself, trying to learn something from her past, present, and, well, I guess not future. You can argue me on that one.
Well, we do get the sense of this is where her love for sitcoms has come from, and the whole. Remember how we said right back when we started doing this, that the whole episodes in the show was generated by her subconscious. Then if she's grown up as a child and she has fond memories of her mama, papa, and Pietro watching sitcoms, then subconsciously that's why the Hex has been created like that. Because we see in the box on TV night, what is it? There's I Love Lucy,
Bewitched. It's all American. It's all classic American sitcoms. Yeah. So anyway, in this first flashback, we were introduced to Wanda and her entire family, basically back in Sokovia in this rundown apartment in the middle of war-torn Civil War Sokovia, and we find out that there's a very, very strong relationship between the kids and between the parents. It's all very like, oh, lovey-dovey, oh, we're such a nice family, when nothing bad's going to happen to us.
Except there's a civil war going on outside the window.
And well, we do have a moment where they show the mother kind of look out and be like,
oh my God.
Just like, so they're doing what they can to pacify their children through all of this. I real mad props to the young girl who plays young Wanda. She's brilliant. I didn't like the kid who played who played Pietro. I thought
No, they found him on Gordon Street.
He's a little bit awkward, but the young girl that they got to play Wanda was very, very good in that role.
She didn't drop her accent once,
yes.
unlike Elizabeth Olsen.
Oh yeah, that's something that we forgot. That Agatha says in the first scene where she's like, "Oh yeah, that accent, something. It really comes and goes."
I like how they're poking fun at that because that's showing themselves that they don't mind poking fun at themselves and they're not mega serious.
It's
DC
also kind
stuff.
of an attempt to save face on continuity as well. It's like anyone who's complained and said, why doesn't she have an accent anymore? Well, they're like, well, we dealt with it now. We've said it. It's because it comes and goes because she's not there anymore. Leave us alone. So what do we learn from that scene though? Because after all the lovey-dovey stuff, a Stark Industries bomb blows up the side of the house, and then a dud or a so-called dud lands in front of them.
Well, it lands in front of them, and then it's basically acting out the scene that her and Quicksilver explain to his. I think they explain it to Ultron in Age of Ultron. But what I took from that scene is the bomb is we kind of thought that was what the first commercial signified, and
you don't need to take that. That is exactly what.
Yeah,
that is.
It's the Stark toaster with a red flashing light with the same beeping noise. And what I took from that scene is that Wanda has had these powers all along, and that she, in fact, Agatha calls it a probability hex.
Probability hex.
But it's some kind of magic that Wanda reaches out and stops the bomb from killing her.
She hasn't had these powers all along, but she has always been a magical being. She's always been a being who has powers.
Yes.
So she would have been on the same grounds as Agatha, for instance.
Yeah, you could say that she mutated at birth.
Yeah. But she unwittingly, in the same way that Harry makes the glass disappear in Harry Potter, she disarms the bomb.
I don't think,
so Agatha tells her.
Yeah, she puts her hands out, and that's how. Again, if this is from what we're remembering, then this is Wanda remembering that she put her hand out to stop the bomb, and Agatha interprets that as
interprets.
Yeah,
interprets.
Interprets. No, it's interpretate.
No, it's interpret.
All right. That Wanda used, and she puts a name on the spell. Now, obviously, Wanda, we know that magic is just science we don't understand. Thank you, Thor. So Wanda has some kind of magic that stops the bomb going, and that's what I took from. I took what Agatha took from that she stopped the bomb killing her and her brother, and they were stuck there for 2 days. So what do you take from that?
What did I take from what?
That scene.
Well, I told you already.
You don't think she stopped it?
Well, no. Okay, so that I'm saying is we take Agatha's word for it. It could be 100%. 100%. Yeah, it could be 100% like her saying that's exactly what happened. But I do get the feeling that you're supposed to think there's a couple of truths and false truths and misleads going on here, but I mean, there's no reason for Agatha to mislead her because she's trying to get to the bottom of what's actually going on.
On a Voyager Discovery as well.
Yeah, she wants to find out what's wrong with her. So by deceiving her, it doesn't really help anyone. It would only serve to deceive us, the audience.
Well,
but that's been prevalent in the show, like an actual, not a recognition that the audience is there, but the show has very much been playing on that idea that it's slightly self-aware.
Well, after that, Agatha then walks around and says, basically, nice family, home life, wrecked, but this wasn't it. This couldn't have been the trigger. What else is there? And then,
well, and you, in answer to your question, though, I already said that my take on that scene is that she is just naturally gifted as a power user, but in the same way that Agatha is. I don't think at this point she's got the powers of the Scarlet Witch yet.
I do, but not in that bigger quantity. Because then we move on to the next one where Agatha shows another door, and instantly she's like, "No, I don't want to go back there because it's obvious." Big friggin' we flash back for the second flashback to the Hydra facility where Wanda and Pietro were tested on by Strucker prior to the Age of Ultron.
she's getting tested by Loki's scepter, and what happens? They basically establish that she's a volunteer, that they volunteered for this, her and Pietro, and that she's under the impression though that they're freedom fighters. They don't realize that it's a Hydra.
Well, yeah, because what does Agatha say? So you went from home family to anti-freedom.
No, to a what's it called? To a Sokovia freedom fighter. That's what
but she says something like you then joined an anti-freedom.
I didn't put the quote down exactly, yeah, but that's what she thought she was joining.
Yeah.
She didn't know that it was Hydra.
No, but...
So, and what happens is that it's revealed to us that they just put her in the room with it to see what will happen. So they're expecting something to happen, and she just interfaces with it. Does the Mind Stone have a mind of its own? Or did she? Was it her unwittingly using her powers and pulling the Mind Stone out of Loki's scepter so that she can? Because she's like trying to siphon the power. If you think about Agatha, for instance, Agatha is on this journey to find more power, more power. What if Wanda is kind of the flip side of the coin? She's doing the same thing throughout her life, but uncontrolled, chaotic, not aware of these things. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is I don't think that the Mind Stone reveals itself to her. I think she is subconscious. She subconsciously pulls the Mind Stone.
Yeah, because obviously she also subconsciously cuts the feed so the scientists can't see what happens. But
it's another theme of the series is that she does things subconsciously without realizing.
To me, she pulls the jewel out of the scepter and brings it towards her, and then through her internal power, subconsciously she breaks it apart, and as soon as she breaks it apart and she sees it's an Infinity Stone, I think it's...
Well, she wouldn't have known what it was.
No, I think it's a bit of both. She siphons some power, and the Infinity Stone also imbues her.
Yeah,
imbues her with
sure
power.
We know what you mean. Yeah.
To the point where we then see this kind of
we see a figure approach her from within the stone who looks like the silhouette kind of looks like the comic book Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, it's a woman or it's a person with a crown, and
we'll get to theory crafting on that.
So what I'm thinking is going on there is the power that Wanda's had all along. I'm not saying it's been released, and that's when she's getting the Scarlet Witch powers. To me, she's always had them. What the Mind Stone is giving her as an Infinity Stone, it's giving her like a steroid injection. It's giving her an infusion of power to just then break down all boundaries.
As we know, that's what the power of the stones does.
Yeah.
You can, for instance, all of Stark's technology is all taken from the Space Stone.
Yeah.
We know that Wanda, Pietro all of their stuff is taken from, and Vision is all taken from the Mind Stone.
The Tesseract gives Captain Marvel it pops her powers
the
out.
Space Stone. It's also the same thing that gave Stark Industries all their powers.
Yeah.
All the weapons that Schmidt makes and whatnot.
Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Time Stone gives the Sorcerer Supreme the power over time. The Power Stone gives Ronan the ability, and anyone else who's wielded it, the ability to destroy worlds.
Yeah,
the stones can be used as siphoning points. They can be used as ways to get power, which makes me believe, and again, this is theory crafting. We'll probably get into it later. Makes me believe that the stones have been destroyed, but all the stones were little physical connections in our universe to those forms of power,
and the powers are still there.
The powers are still there. The power exists, and it permeates the multiverse.
Well, that's what I see going on there. Is she isn't imbued with the powers. It's like an adrenaline shot to unleash the power she's already had inside.
Yeah. Okay. So we go to a third flashback after that.
And the second.
There's a second part to the second flashback.
Hang on.
When they were back in her cell.
Yeah, so just before that, the second commercial was the timepiece by Hydra. So we've had a connection to the first two commercials as well.
But what did the timepiece have to do with it, though?
That she was in there and it was a ticking clock.
So I didn't write any notes down, but before we move on to the third flashback, we do actually stay in that second flashback, but we go back to her cell and she's watching TV.
She's watching The Brady Bunch.
Yeah, so she's watching sitcoms again, kind of giving us this idea that she has always found comfort in sitcoms.
Again, sitcoms about families as well, The Brady Bunch.
Well, most sitcoms are about families. But yeah, that's still a good connection though. I will agree. As someone though who has that kind of sort of obsessive behavior, like me with the video game series that anyone who watches our channel is familiar with, that I'm obsessed with, Mass Effect. I always go back to those games usually to kind of help me deal with bad feelings and grief and whatnot, and that's what she's doing with these sitcoms. These sitcoms are like
an escape for her.
Yeah, they're the source of like joy that will never run away from her. They'll always be there. They'll never leave her. They'll never die. They'll always be there. And at that point, though, we now snap back to Christmas Carol version of Wanda and Agatha makes another revelation about her now. Realize she's starting to piece things together.
What does she say?
I don't know. We're terrible. It's weird. This must be the most engaging part of the episode for me because it's the one part where I forgot to really write any notes.
Because then they go to the next flashback.
The third flashback is back at the Avengers compound.
Yeah.
Pre-Civil War. And Vision, like he does in Civil War, when she says, "Viz, we talked about this," walks through the wall into her room. But so this, I imagine this happened before that.
Yeah. Because to me, this is just after she's joined the Avengers.
Yeah, it's
because
right after
Age
of Ultron.
You have two Avengers now who, at this point in time, have nobody. Wanda's lost everyone, and as Vision says...
Well, she's literally grieving him, right there, grieving Pietro right there. She's still crying and still talking to him about him. So this is probably like a week after the whole Sokovia incident.
I can't remember what the third commercial was, but the Lagos commercial with the blood was...
That's the third one.
So that was a throwback then to when she was an Avenger, because that happens in Civil War as part of the Avengers team. So we've now got her in the compound, as you said, but at this point in time, she's just lost Pietro. So this is probably when they've just got back from Sokovia and saved the world. But what parallels here are is the fact that she's got nobody now, and Vision, as he says, he's never had anyone. So they're both roughly in the same position.
I've got quotes. So third flashback, back at the Avengers compound, Civil War, pre-Civil War, Vision intrudes and warms up to Wanda. So we get a little bit of a back and forth between him building rapport with her, but her being really closed off, and then saying something kind of rude to him, to which she realizes and she apologizes. She's watching a sitcom as well, it's worth noting, again, with the sitcoms. But these are the quotes that stood out to me. She's trying to explain to him what she's feeling in the wake of Pietro's death. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to explain to her that he has no concept of that because he's never experienced loss because he's never had a loved one to lose. And he basically suggests to her it can all be sorrow. Can it? That's what he says. Can it? As though like he doesn't know. He just, in his naivety, because remember, if this is just a week after Age of Ultron, he's only a week old.
Yeah,
he's a child.
Yeah, he said it's all I've ever known.
Yes. So, and then he says probably one of the most lovely lines I've ever seen in any of these movies. What is grief if not love persevering? So this whole scene serves to show us that the reason she loves Vision so much was because he was this naive, pure, unspoilt person who had never felt the thing she's feeling right now. Mm-hmm. So he not only is the perfect person to help her through all of this, but she can see light at the end of the tunnel through him. She knows, she sees a way out of her grief, which makes it even so much more tragic that she ends up what ends up ultimately happening, and it adds up and compounds to what the main revelation of the episode.
Well, the good thing there is though, it also gives us backstory on Wanda and Vision's relationship. So in the films, we go from Age of Ultron to Captain America, where they're cooking together, and you can are they a couple there? And then Infinity War, they've eloped to Scotland. So you never really get any development of the actual chemistry and him caring about her or her caring about him. Whereas this tiny little scene actually shows you more probably in this little scene than it does in all the MCU movies.
I don't think it's there to serve as any sort of character development for the two of them, though. Its only real purpose is to show us why she is capable of doing what she does later in the episode. Why there's so much grief and sadness in her.
I believe it's there to show their connection, whereas the movies really didn't.
But connection, yeah, that's true. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying in the context of this episode, the connection alone isn't important. What's important here is that we're shown she loses her parents, right? Then she loses her brother, and then she finds someone to help her deal with all of that tragedy, and then she loses that. That's what I think the important thing is here. So, like I said, this is why I said they're both on their own journey. Agatha's on the journey to hack Wanda's secrets. Wanda is on a journey to find out, deal with her grief and find out who she is.
So just to jump aside, I want to go back to the commercials because we missed one. So
the Nexus commercial.
No. To me, these commercials are basically telling the story of this episode. We get the toaster, which is the bomb. We then get the...
we've gone through that. All right, the shark on the beach, though.
No. So the second one is the Hydra soap.
Yeah.
That is when she leaves Hydra and becomes an Avenger. She washes herself clean of her Hydra connections. Then she's got the...
No. Okay, so that soap is a reference to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Coulson. That's all that is, yeah. When he warns everybody of the soap, Hydra used the soap to control people.
Okay, well, and then
that's all that is.
Then you got the Lagos one when she is an Avenger. Then the next one after that is the shark one,
which is now the boy. That's Vision.
No.
Taking all your power, yeah.
No, what does...
It's Thanos. The shark is Thanos. The boy is Vision.
What does the shark say to her? What's the yogurt called?
Something to do with taking power.
I'm going to use yo magic.
Yeah.
Later on, what does Hayward need? He needs her magic. That is telling that story. That is what Hayward needs. He literally needs her magic.
I still think that it makes more sense, though, given the way the first three connect, that would be more akin to the dying kid is Vision, and the shark is Thanos.
The kid kind of wastes away.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanos just pulls it out.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. And the actual thing he says, I need your magic.
We can get into all that.
And then we'll talk about that, your magic needed later on. But then we got the Nexus commercial, which we talked about last week, is a 100%... she's a Nexus being, and that's when she figures it out.
That had no connection to this episode, though. It's the only one that didn't.
It did, because what did we find out right at the very end?
Well, yeah, but
that is the last commercial.
Anyone watching who doesn't know what these things are from the comics would not make that connection. The Nexus commercial is the one that doesn't have a connection at all.
To me, with what Agatha calls her at the end.
To you, because you know what all that is.
Okay.
If you don't know what that is, there's no connection.
Right.
We know the first three commercials have actual visual connections. Like you said, bomb, washing herself free of Hydra, and then Lagos, dealing with tragedy post.
And then then the last two commercials are for the last part of this episode.
Probably.
So then Agatha points out that she's lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she's actually quite cruel about it. She goes, you lost your parents, your brother, Vision. And she's actually kind of... I won't say she's rubbing it in.
She's trying to make her face reality.
But one thing I did notice from that thing is when she's telling her story and all that, Agatha looks like she's wiping a tear from her eye. Now, I would have thought that was a sarcastic gesture. But... she can see Wanda's not looking at her.
Yeah, she stood behind her. Again, it's one of those situations where if it is for that reason, it serves only to do that for the audience.
Yeah, which to me, though, actually makes sense that
Dramatic
Agatha...
irony, though?
No, I think Agatha at this point is actually feeling for Wanda of what she's gone through, because obviously Agatha's gone through a lot herself.
I think that's open to interpretation. I think it's a little dramatic irony is all it is.
All right.
But well, again, like I say, we'll get into that. Let's hammer through all these final points because we're almost at the end. So we move to the fourth and final.
Your notes are in my shot. Stop waving your hands.
Oh no! Look at that.
Yeah, see.
No, but look how choppy it is.
All right, it still says it's excellent. Let's keep going.
It's probably why people come and go instantly, though.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see when we watch it back.
Yeah. Well, no, because once we watch it back, it'll be fully
Okay,
compiled. It won't. So we go to the fourth and final flashback, where we essentially learn through seeing actually what happened in the sword base when Wanda showed up that Hayward.
This is probably the biggest reveal of the episode.
Yeah, Hayward was pretty much he lied to not her, he lied to Monica and Jimmy and everyone else out in the base outside the Hex, and told when he was briefing them and showed that she broke into Sword and stole his body. But we end up finding out that he was actually kind of amicable to her. He lets her in. He lets her go see his body. He's like, yeah, she obviously needs to do this. Stand down. Let her go do it. And we have that really cool moment that you pointed out when we were doing our final watch through. Is that she says, "I can't feel you," and she says the reverse of that in Infinity War. That when she touches, when Vision's trying to tell us that he doesn't know what to make of the Mind Stone, she says, "I just feel you."
Okay. There's the shark commercial. Is that scene? Because Hayward knows that he needs her to try. They've tried everything. They put him back together a million times.
You already said that, yeah.
Yeah. So he lets her in there, says stand down to see if she. Because he even says to her, "I can't let the only person that can bring him back to life have his body," and that's where he lets her in and he goads her in there to try and get her to reactivate Vision. That's the Your Magic commercial.
Sure.
Well, think about it though. You're right, the boy is Vision, because Vision's dead. Yeah. And the guy is saying, "I need your magic." The shark is saying, "I need your magic." So that is the Your Magic part.
I ultimately have to admit, though, and concede that one still pretty much confounds me.
Well, no.
I feel like Bob's Burgers, and I'm literally grasping at straws.
But hang on, though, think about it, though. Vision's disassembled on the table, so he's dead, he's a skeleton. And the shark says, "I need your magic." And he goads her into breaking the glass and going down there and trying to reactivate him. Because he even says...
Yeah, but who is she in that commercial then? If Hayward's the shark, Vision's the boy...
She's just the magic. He wants her magic because he thinks... He even says, I can't let you take away the only person that could bring him back to life. Yeah, and she's like, "I can't do that."
Yeah, and also, like, the commercial, the shark is trying to give him sustenance.
Yeah.
Trying to give it, and it keeps failing and failing and getting worse and worse.
So that's what I'm saying. These commercials are just telling...
Yeah,
and that also this episode throughout the
that
series.
Also now makes it so that the Nexus episode commercial has nothing to do with this episode,
except what she says at the end.
No, but only because you know about that.
Well, that's what it's telling. The show is telling us that.
No, I don't think so, because Scarlet Witch is originally a character from the X-Men comics. It's nothing. Yeah. All that Nexus stuff is all made up during the golden age of comics, like years and years and years later. I don't think
but we know Marvel pick and choose what canon
it's just that from a TV watching perspective, anyone who doesn't know anything about comics but has been watching all the MCU stuff, you know the first one, it's Stark technology, tick tick tick, Stark bomb, right? So you got So you got the visual cues, right? Second one, as you said, Hydra, the soap. We got visual cues to a Hydra cell and her being tested on or whatever you said, cleansing herself of Hydra. Third one, we got the Lygos. Oh, we got a greeting from someone.
Yeah.
So the third one, we have the whole Lygos cleans up your mistakes. We never really actually thought about that though, cleaning up your mistakes. Yeah. So she in Lygos accidentally, when she sends Romolo up into the air, accidentally kills a bunch of people in that office building.
Yes.
So where does the cleaning up your mistakes thing come in?
Well, because the mistake was in Lagos, and the towel is clean up your mistakes. Like, she didn't get a chance to do it. So the
towel is the Sokovia Accords?
Probably. It's more that the fact that she didn't have the paper towel to clean up.
I'm just trying to think where it visually connects to something that happens in this episode. Because the third flashback is she's there at the Avengers compound, but it's before that.
It is, but she's part of the Avengers now. So that was one of the main things she did as an Avenger.
Okay, so then your shark commercial with the boy on the island, that one visually connects to we already said it's Hayward and Sword. The Nexus thing requires background knowledge from the comics about Scarlet Witch to make the connection. So the only people making that connection, based on what you're suggesting, are people who are fans of the comics.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, we're fairly new to this, so we're just hopefully building slowly and getting people in. But yeah, that's why we're new to this live discussion. This is our third ring, and hopefully we'll keep doing it with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
We did do The Expanse and The Mandalorian as well.
Yeah. Well, we did
sort of.
We kind of sort of.
We're always late. We're always late to the party, but we try. We try.
But yeah, if you've got any ideas of what you think those commercials mean, let us know in the chat, and we'll talk about them.
We're supposed to be breaking this down scene by scene, but we keep getting distracted by all of our theories.
Okay, let's move on from the Vision body.
Well, the last thing I pointed out was when she said, I can't feel you, and that's kind of a reverse reference to Infinity War.
Yeah, because in Infinity War, when she does feel him, she's actually, her wiggly woos are touching the Mind Stone, which says to me that Vision's consciousness is so connected to the Mind Stone power.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that helps us later on
so
in the episode.
We don't go to another flashback. This one technically continues. It's a prolonged flashback. She goes back out to the vehicle, and she...
Thanks, man. He says, we look like a news channel. Too professional for such little subscribers.
Well, by all means, give us a subscription. Yeah. We try to do this every week.
You got to start somewhere, and we're trying to be as professional as possible.
Yeah. So as I was saying, this flashback is a prolonged one. It continues because she then leaves Sword Base without Vision's body, which is like, oh, whoa, here with lies. And then she gets back into the car, and we find out that she has a deed that was given to her by Vision, and so she follows the address on the deed, and she drives to Westview, and we get shots of all of the people in Westview who haven't been taken over or mind controlled yet, just going about their daily lives. And you made an interesting point. It looks like it's very much after the blip. Well, yeah, because the town looks all run down.
When she goes into Sword on the screens, it's all about talking about people. They call them the returnees. And then you get to Westview, and the town looks very similar to how it looks when Scott Lang comes out in Endgame. There's garbage, the pool's garbage.
It's all run down.
The gazebo's all boarded off. So these people have obviously just come back from the blip and are putting Westview back together. I find it funny, though, a little odd that when they get to the house, now it's great that it says, if you notice on the deed, it does say Wanda Maximoff and the Vision. So... because someone was saying that
he'll have bought it before.
Yeah, where did they get the deed from? And yeah, so they bought this before.
Someone was saying that.
Yeah, on a video I watched.
Oh, okay. You might want to clarify that with me. I haven't watched all the videos you've watched.
So they bought the deed for the house, and the foundation was built before Infinity War. Snap, and now it's an old building site, and that's where she's there. And obviously at this point, everything's going ahead of what she's lost.
Well, what happens in real life in 4 years if an owner of land doesn't show up to do anything with it? Does the city come in and take over and demolish it?
No, because the deed's theirs. And remember, in these 5 years, there was probably chaos. Mm-hmm. So that plot of land is owned by Wanda and...
Wanda and Vision.
Thanks. Such a great channel. Why haven't you guys got more people? Hopefully we will. You guys are always welcome.
Yeah, we're going to keep at it.
We know the toaster is connected to the bomb in the latest episode. Yep, we got that one. The one that we're trying to work with is find out where the Nexus one fits in this, because we were just discussing that.
Hello there.
Yeah. Hello there. This is the accent. Awesome, thanks, man. A new subscriber. What we've talked about is it's funny how we've kind of connected every single one of these adverts to how this story's been told to Agatha and Scarlet Witch throughout. So we got the commercials throughout the series, but it's actually just a preview of this episode.
The commercials were just foreshadowing, just fancy foreshadowing.
Hi, Alison. So we get to the point where she's walking into what would have been Vision's house, and at that point the emotion is just...
she's so stricken with grief that she eventually falls down, breaks down, and then she creates the hex, and at the same time rebirths Vision.
Well, like I said to you though, again, I didn't mean to say this while we were watching it. I was like, man, it is literally like she is what you call it, pouring her heart out, and the
symbolism.
Yeah, the energy is literally coming out of her chest.
Yeah, we call that symbolism.
Yeah. But this is what I liked about it, though. So she's pouring her heart out, and then at the point of creating Vision from scratch, it's anything that she absorbed during the...
Thanks, Aiden the kid. Sorry to interrupt.
What's it? April pinging everyone 249 times today has made me a tad wary. Well, I hope this is making up for you being a tad wary. Yeah, so she's pouring her heart out, and anything that she absorbed from the Mind Stone at Strucker's lab, we know that we said earlier that we think that the Mind Stone is holding Vision's consciousness.
Well, again,
And
visual storytelling, because when she explodes and just breaks out in grief, it's all red magic, it's all Scarlet Witch magic, except when it starts pouring out of her heart and reforming a new Vision, it's gold and yellowish looking, which is the Mind Stone.
Mind Stone magic. So,
we'll get into theories later on, but we're almost at the end of this breakdown.
Kushal just asked, after episode 8, do you think Wanda was a mutant right from the beginning? We said this earlier. We think she had powers. We're not calling her a mutant yet, but we are saying she had powers. And then we said earlier on that the Mind Stone was basically like giving her a steroid infusion of power, which just...
I have to apologize. I'm not wearing my glasses. Is it Adam the kid?
Adam the kid.
Sorry, I am so sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm like the chat's on his side of the studio, so I'm trying to see. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Okay, so like it is says, I'm a fellow YouTuber, aka I'm April. It's very nice to meet you guys. That has recently gotten into the MCU to the point where I hosted a watch party last week. It's so nice to see more people talking. Yeah, it is. How did your watch party go? I just want to be interested.
we'll wait.
Yeah, because we haven't done a watch party yet, because we're kind of still trying to keep separate distances from all our.
I was thinking about doing some Amazon Prime watch parties on my Twitch channel. It kind of looks interesting because I have Amazon Prime free as a result.
Yes, that's true. So anyway, back onto the very last thing when she's created Vision.
So yeah, she creates Vision, she rebirths him, builds the Hex, and then starts pretty much living out her fantasy.
See, I love what he says, Kushal says here. So with what we were saying, so this means mutants exist in the MCU, only their powers need to be awakened. And that's what we said right at the start of WandaVision. We said either you said the snap, didn't you? That when Hulk...
I thought people coming back from the snap, people were going to come back mutated and stuff.
Well, if you think about it, if what Kushal says is right, and mutants have been around, but the powers haven't been that big, when Hulk snaps them, he's basically infusing them with infinity power from the Infinity Stones. He's bringing them back. So that's how they have created mutants.
Possibly, but I also have the belief that Agatha and witches and whatnot were probably mutants too. And it's kind of like the First Class idea from the movie First Class. Mutants have always been around, and now with superpowered individuals coming into light, like the Avengers, for instance, maybe more mutants will start coming out and being like, "Hey,
well,
look, we
especially if they've come back from the blip." I hate calling it the blip. Spider-Man, what do you do that for?
Well, the snap is what Thanos does. The blip is Hulk bringing them all back. I also had a weird problem with the blip, though. What happens to people who were snapped whilst in flight over the Atlantic Ocean? Yeah, thanks for watching, buddy. Like, when they blipped back, were they floating in midair over the ocean and then fell to their deaths?
A lot of people have said that because Monica came back sat in the same seat. So, but if you want to take that, what I'd like to think is they come back in the same aeroplane seat. Because if you think about it, the seat that Monica is in is not in the same position that she was blipped 5 years ago, because the planet Earth's flying through the universe. So that's so literally everybody blipped would have been way back in the universe.
Now we're talking about relativity. Does relativity exist in the MCU or not?
Yeah. So Kushal wants to know if we think that Doctor Strange a mutant. I don't think I think magic and mutant powers are very closely linked, but I think you can learn magic. From what I got from the Doctor Strange movie, is he learnt magic. And I think Agatha's the same. I think Agatha has learnt magic, especially with how long she's been around.
I also believe, though, that magic, as Thor tells us in the original Thor movie, magic isn't magic.
It's science that we don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like it is, had 20 to 30 people came out watching together at a time. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, tomorrow's...
That must be good fun.
Tomorrow's episode, I'm pretty looking forward to as well. And I hope it answers all the... No. I hope it doesn't answer all the questions. I hope it leaves some open, but I hope it leaves it open in a way that then what's coming next is a follow-on, because we've said before we don't think WandaVision has more than one series in it. I don't see there being a WandaVision 2. But anyway, let's wrap up.
It could very well be. I just think that the biggest, the best thing I can say about this show was in this episode, which is funny because I started out our live stream tonight talking about how the episode overall was kind of meh.
Yeah.
But it just shows what the standard is. Like, the standard this show has set is very high. And I must admit, like, it's the first penultimate series episode since maybe Game of Thrones season 3 that managed to resolve all of its plot threads and then set us up for the finale and then subsequent seasons. So I might have changed my opinion on that. There might very well be a WandaVision season 2.
Well, let's wrap up because after Wanda's done all that, we then
we have that little bit that confused us both when you've got Agatha sat in a studio.
That was so weird. I don't know what you guys thought when you watched it. So it then you get Visions recreated. It's the black and white episode, and he says, "Welcome home, Wanda. Shall we stay in and watch TV?" And then it cuts to a TV studio, like a sitcom studio.
We have a question.
Is there even a cameo? I believe the cameo, we're going to cover that after we just wrap up the episode, because I believe there's definitely a cameo coming. We've still probably got about another 25-30 minutes worth of talking, because we discussed the episode.
The episode's longer than that.
And then we go into theory crafting about what we think's going to happen in the next one. So, so I found it really weird that it showed the TV studio, and I was really, when I saw that, I was like, oh, please don't tell me this entire thing has been a movie.
Are they breaking the fourth wall?
Breaking like the fourth wall more than anything. Luckily, it wasn't. It was just a way of them transitioning to Wanda running out of the house, hearing her kids, and there we've got Agatha flying, and she's got Billy and Tommy on a leash. So,
and it's at this point that for the first time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Wanda Maximoff is referred to as the Scarlet Witch.
And the big thing I took out about that, though, as well, though, is it's Agatha now knows what she is. And she knows that you shouldn't exist. You're like a myth. And that's where I think the Nexus commercial comes in. We know what Nexus beings mean, but Agatha's actually telling Wanda for the first time, you are the Scarlet Witch, a Nexus being. And that you can, and the best thing I got from that is she goes, you can create from nothing, which means Billy and Tommy and Vision, she's created them out of nothing. So I'm thinking that they're going to be in the MCU for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Just a quick caveat though as well is that she refers to it as, quote, chaos magic. Which isn't that what she was accused of as well earlier? Or no, that was dark magic.
She was just dark magic.
But you could understand why you might make the confusion though. And then that's the end of the episode. But we do get a post-credits scene in this one, and it's quite interesting.
So
because I had to look it up as someone who's not read too many of the comics, I didn't know what I was looking at.
I knew what White Vision was. And I knew that White Vision was a version. He's basically exactly the same as Vision, but he's lost all his emotion. He is he's like a Data. He's an android. So he goes from being a synthezoid to more like an android, whereas he has no emotion, no connection.
Well, androids can have emotions. I know what you're saying, though. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Do they dream of electric sheep though?
Yeah.
And
also cakes made out of Deanna Troi.
Okay, Kushal, a Nexus being is a being that is the same being in all the multiverses. So, like, if you think of multiverses as being an unlimited amount of universes, there might be a universe where you are I'm not saying that you're not, you might be an astrophysicist in one, you might be a paramedic in the other, whereas... So they're all different people, but they're all you. Whereas Wanda Maximoff is a Nexus being, and in every single multiverse, she is Wanda Maximoff, and there's only
one Wanda Maximoff, and she can travel the multiverse
travels
as well.
The multiverse, which is why she's going to be in Doctor Strange's movie, The Multiverse of Madness, which then leaves. Oh, so just back to the White Vision.
Well, yeah.
This is where my theory of White Vision is going to be taken over by Ultron. Ultron is still in the system, and Ultron's been pulling strings, and he's going to take over the White Vision body. Anyway, so that's the end of the episode. Then now we're going to get into theory crafting. We were asked who we think the Avengers cameo is. I think it's hands down, it's Doctor Strange.
So
it's not Reed Richards.
The most likely one is probably Doctor Strange, especially considering we know that she's going to be in his next movie.
Well, we know she's in his next movie. We also know that the next series after Falcon and Winter Soldier is Loki, which is, I don't know whether it's set in the multiverse or whether it's time. I think it's set in the multiverse, and it's somewhat like Loki. Again, they're being very, very. White Vision looked like Dr. Manhattan. Yes, it did, except
a little bit, yeah.
He didn't have his dick out.
Matthew.
That would have been way too much for an MCU.
Come on. Anyways, that's who I...
Yes, that's Max. Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange's movie.
That's who I want, who I would imagine it would be based on what I saw. I would guess the most likely is going to be Doctor Strange. And let me finish. Who I want it to be, just letting my emotions take over, I want it to be Clint. I want him to come, and I want basically when all hell breaks loose and she ends up like outside the hex and everything comes to a close. I want the only person who finds her to be Clint, and he comes and has a conversation with her. Yeah,
Kushal. The actual thing is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is the title, so we're only assuming that it's set in the multiverse, and we've also got Wanda in it now.
Pretty good assumption, though.
Who is the multiverse being?
That's like saying Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. We think the Empire probably strikes back in this one.
I agree. Clint would be a good one to talk Wanda down, but if we look at the footage that we've seen in the promos. Agatha's not an Nexus being, no, and that's why she can't figure out who Wanda is, and that's why this entire episode, Agatha is pushing Wanda to try and figure out who she is, and then she realizes you're a myth, you shouldn't exist.
Well, Agatha had to tread lightly as well. Like you get the impression, she's in control, but at any moment, if Wanda was able to wizen on and figure out, Wanda has the capabilities to just blink her out of existence.
Oh yeah, Wanda does not know the extent of her powers yet. And the fact that she's been able to do all this hex in Westview subconsciously is a proof of that.
And so you get the feeling that Agatha is basically trying to defeat her before she comes to an understanding of her true power.
So back to your cameo. I would love it to be Clint.
Oh yeah, it's just who I want. There's no reason it would be him.
The only reason it would be Clint is if Wanda needs talking down from somewhere, because I'd see him being the one with the emotional connection to her, because if you think about it, she's lost everybody, but Clint was there for her, and at the end of
Endgame,
it's him and her talking by the lake. I think it's going to be Doctor Strange. To me, it's the only one that makes sense.
Oh no! Just to be clear, that's who I wanted it to be. There's no reason it should have been him.
It's not going to be Reed Richards. No. It's not going to be any of the mutants.
Well, I mean, never say never, right?
But it doesn't make sense.
Deadpool.
It doesn't make sense for Reed Richards or the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. Those are like 2 Infinity Stones that Kevin Feige has in his pockets. 2 extra Infinity Stones that no one's ever seen. He can whip them out. Whenever the MCU looks like it's trending down a little bit, he'll whip out a Fantastic Four movie, or he'll whip out an X-Men movie. He won't... Those are his aces in the hand. He will not...
Aces in the hole.
Aces in the hole, yeah. He will
Technically, they are in the hand, though.
Kushal says we need Hawkeye and Black Widow. With the way of Black Widow being told, I'm not sure how that's going to go. What I did want to do...
But speaking about the aces in the hole, you just know if the Black Widow movie does well, he's going to be like, all right, Scarlet, we're bringing you back. We're going to need 2 sequels from you.
You're not dead anymore.
Yeah.
What I wanted to see, though, was with Hawkeye getting his own movie, we kind of know he's training... a TV show. He's training a replacement. I wanted to see Hawkeye in the time when he was Ronin. Be a bit darker.
They could still do that.
That to me would be a better series. Show us Hawkeye during Infinity War to Endgame.
You might get a movie. You might get a Ronin movie. The Hawkeye series, he passes on the torch and the moniker of Hawkeye to a new Hawkeye, and then he can now he's free to move on to go make a Ronin movie.
Actually, Kushal, you nailed it there. A Hawkeye flashback when we find out what happened in Budapest. That's what I'd like to see.
Oh, he's for sure in Black Widow. Yeah. Like he has to be.
Well,
in a flashback.
The thing is, Black Widow's been made for so long. To keep that quiet, that's pretty good.
Never underestimate the power of a non-disclosure agreement.
Okay, let's talk about this week's episode. How do we think this is going to end?
Wait, what?
How do you think WandaVision is going to end?
This week's episode?
Yeah. in less than 48 hours.
Yeah, because we're talking about last week's episode. Jeez, I can't believe it's out already in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing how time flies. I just think it's going to be because of the way they handled all of the plot threads of the season in that penultimate episode. This is now going to be all the powers that be come to blows.
Well, yeah, because we have that scene in the promo of I think Wanda says something like, "This is our home," and Vision says, "Well, let's fight for it." I think that's them two talking about White Vision coming in with sword. And Vision and Wanda are going to fight White Vision. I think next week we might find something happens to Agatha that she kind of gets kicked to the side a little bit. And the head-to-head is going to be Wanda, Vision versus Sword.
We still, though, have Monica and fake Pietro as well.
Well, fake Pietro, we know was just her...
yeah, and I told you what my theory on that is. I believe he's Jimmy's missing person.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's going to come out of this thinking he is Pietro Maximoff, and he's going to still have the powers of Quicksilver.
So? Like It Is wants to know whether we think Wanda is a villain or a hero. This has been a contentious point from us. I think she's not a villain. But Michael thinks she's going to be the villain for the next phase of the MCU movies.
Yeah.
And she has been a villain in the comics. In the comics, she changes her mind.
I fall for Matt Pat from Film Theory. All the stuff he says, I always fall for it.
Yeah.
And what's funny is he's like wrong 90% of the time.
Well, what do you think Like It Is? Do you think she's going to be a villain or a hero? I want her to be hero, and I think she will be hero. And I think when the Hex collapses, she is. She's a villain.
Thanks, Jack. You and me, buddy.
Yeah, I think when the Hex collapses, Vision will be able to survive outside the Hex. So we'll have White Vision and we'll have normal Vision. And as I said, I think White Vision...
I thought you said, off camera, we discussed this, I thought you said that they're going to combine to become real Vision.
Well, the only reason I don't think that now is because they made a point of showing us White Vision at the end of this episode as he's looking at his hands. He's a completely sentient being.
But we also know, though, that the amnesia Vision inside the Hex, he can't leave the Hex.
But does that mean then Billy and Tommy can't leave the Hex? I think, well...
Probably.
Actually, he can leave the Hex. Wanda can do what the fuck she wants. She's that powerful.
Well, what did I tell you after episode 4? I think it was, or episode 5, when she comes out and faces them outside the Hex and whatnot. When she brings the drone out, that's
episode 3.
No, it's not. The first 3 episodes all came out.
Oh yeah, 4. Episode 4.
It's episode 5 because episode 4 is the first time we see outside the Hex.
Yeah.
So anyway, that episode. I said after that episode that basically what she's going to do is eventually the Hex is going to engulf the entire universe, and then in the episode where she does actually expand it, that completely made me feel like that's what's going to happen.
So you think she's going to expand the Hex around the entire planet?
She's going to expand the Hex around the entire universe. And that's why Doctor Strange is going to have to come in.
So we know, what do we think Monica's going to do next? I think Monica's going to help Vision and Wanda fight Sword as Photon.
Well, okay, yeah. I agree.
What do you think about Darcy? Do you think Darcy's going to have powers? Because she's been in and out of the X now. And what about all the Sword people?
Maybe. Because she's been in and out, so something's happened to her. What if Darcy is going to be a mutant?
Yeah. Like It Is, she's with me. She thinks she's a hero. She's not a villain.
Well, okay. So can I have the floor for a second?
Hang on. And Kushal wants it to end like the Mandalorian. I think Luke Skywalker's showing up at the end. I don't think that'll work.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just to be clear. She's going to be a villain, but she's going to be a villain like we've never had in any media before. She is going to be a 100% legitimate, sympathetic villain. It's genius. It's such a bold, genius move from Feige because think about it. We love her as a character.
You mean she's going to be like Magneto?
Yeah, but even better than Magneto. But it's oddly enough, that's kind of cool that you brought that up, though, because it's Magneto
daughter.
father maybe. But no, she is a character we care about, a character we've grown to like, a character who we've been through thick and thin now for 5 or 6 movies, and damn, she's the villain. It's like how can you reconcile yourself with that? Like here's this villain that you just want good things to happen to. It's almost like Amos Burton from The Expanse. He's technically a villainous person.
Yeah.
But he's still a character you love and like because of how complex and sympathetic he is. Same goes for Jane from Firefly. He's a villain, but he's our villain, and that's what we're going to get with Scarlet Witch.
I don't think so. I think Scarlet Witch will be. I think the way I think this is going to wrap up is it's going to set up. I don't think it's going to set up a big bad. I think it's going to set up a concurrent bad guy who's going to be a smaller. But then I think when the movies start coming out, that's when they'll bring in someone like Galactus or someone like that. Well,
you do need a big bad still, because even we talked about, you brought up Empire Strikes Back, so we're going to talk about Star Wars for a second here. Sorry.
Oh my God,
we always end up talking about Star Wars. But would Darth Vader have been a compelling enough villain without the Emperor?
Yeah.
No, so like, let's say it turned out there was no Emperor. And Darth Vader was just, he's the big bad.
Because the Emperor was...
No. Bringing in the Emperor now gives us, all of a sudden, a different direction to understand that character. Now you realise, oh, this isn't the big bad. And this guy has a boss. Oh, and he's like this because of this guy. So adding to this sympathetic character, adding to his complexity and his depth. If you'd have just made Darth Vader the big bad, then you wouldn't have cared.
No. Loki was relatable as well.
But again, Loki has this. There's reasons behind why Loki was the way he was.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to absolve him of his issues and his sins, but he definitely these villains are sympathetic because we understand them.
We'll be streaming the finale live on Friday if you want to join us around about 8:00.
Cheers.
Channel 5 News.
Thanks for watching.
So I get what you're saying. But I don't think they will invest the time in Vision and Wanda to make her a bad guy. I truly believe that. I think what they're going to do is go along the line of, like we just said, that mutants have been around all the time and the blips brought back. And I think Sword are going to be the concurrent bad. And they're not Hydra. Sword will be the bad, and it will start bringing in them trying to track down people like Wanda, people of interest.
That's a crazy departure from the comics.
Yeah. Well, if you think about the Sword that Fury's in at the end of, is it Captain Marvel?
Mm-hmm.
He's with the
no, Spider-Man Far From Home.
He's with the Skrulls on a space station, so he's not really with. No worries, man. I'd say check. We're going to be doing Superman as well. We're going to start watching Superman and Lois, and we're going to be reviewing that as well. So just keep an eye on the channel. But thanks for joining us.
Good night.
I believe I just don't see him turning Wanda into a bad guy.
Well, okay, so explain why.
So I think we've invested too much time with WandaVision, Tommy, and Billy, to then all of a sudden her be the main focus of the Avengers trying to stop her.
Okay, I think we've invested far too much time with Anakin Skywalker and Sheev Palpatine.
That would be
for them to become the villains.
8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Kushal. And thanks for watching
7
in
o'clock
India.
Eastern.
Whereabouts in India are you from?
Eastern.
I spent a bit of time in India. I believe it or not, I did something crazy. I drove a rickshaw.
The rickshaw run.
Yeah, a rickshaw or a tuk-tuk. I drove it from Jaisalmer in the northwest all the way down to Kochi over 2 weeks. That's weird. Yeah, so go on then. Tell me why you think.
Well, no, I countered what you said. I think the fact that we care about a character doesn't make it any less likely that you can make a villain out of them.
Mumbai. I went. Yeah, we stopped in Mumbai. We stopped on Marina Drive. Grand Hotel something. It's got a swimming pool on the roof. What a cool place. I went to Gandhi's house as well. That was awesome. Yeah, so you think
I don't think getting to know characters and investing time in characters is enough reason for them not to be able to become villains.
So do you see then Scarlet Witch being the bad guy in Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness?
I think they'd be badass.
See, I see her or Doctor Strange after again. I think Doctor Strange will be in this week's episode, and he'll get to know Wanda's powers, and him and Wanda will team up to fight someone in Doctor Strange's movie.
So let me ask you a question. We're going to play a little thought experiment using another MCU property. Who is the big bad of Captain America Civil War?
It's
Zima.
Yeah.
Who's the antagonist of Captain America: Civil War?
Tony Stark.
Exactly. So there you go. There's a sympathetic character who you've invested lots of time in, who can be the antagonist. Now, WandaVision might not be Thanos, right?
Yeah.
I might be able to concede that she's not going to be the big bad, but I do think she's going to be antagonist and a pain in people's sides. I think the best way you could deal with the next Doctor Strange movie is maybe he is policing the whole Wanda situation.
The multiverse.
What if the finale of WandaVision ends up with her kind of like ditching, leaving everything behind and being like, you'll never get me, Spider-Man.
So like it is says, she definitely thinks there's a possibility of her going to the dark side. Good reference. But I think Wanda's been through enough. Marvel needs to give her a break. I'm with you on that one. I'm definitely with you on that one.
Well, and again, that's why I'm saying I think like she has definitely the space to be an antagonist, but not like a full-blown bad guy.
Yeah, you think she might... Again, I think she'll be... If she is going to go down the antagonist route, it'll be more along the lines of Loki.
I'd like the next Doctor Strange movie to be essentially about Doctor Strange having to chase down and stop Wanda from doing the thing she's doing. Like he's on her... like almost like a Javert Valjean Les Mis type situation where...
Yeah, but Javert's a dick.
Yeah, but exactly. So, Doctor Strange is kind of a dick.
Yeah,
remember, he's introduced to us and he's this cocky asshole, but... I think that'd be cool if Doctor Strange 2 is very much that, and he's chasing her around, instead of chasing her around 19th century France, he's chasing her around the multiverse. Yeah. And slowly along the way, she's trying to leave breadcrumbs for him so that he knows that she's not doing, she didn't mean to do any of the things she's doing. And as we slowly come to a head with the two characters, they finally come to an understanding, and then the big bad of the movie is actually revealed, and they both have to team up and fight the big bad.
I could tell you this:
Javert and Valjean didn't do that.
I don't think Mephisto, Nightmare, or any of those people are the bad guys.
You should drop the bit rate a little bit.
Yeah. Kushal, we do it every week. The
finale we'll be doing on Friday.
Finale we'll be doing this Friday, but we moved to Wednesdays because we're going to start doing live streams about Superman, the new Superman show, and then we'll be jumping onto the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
We also have an episode of our weekly podcast. We missed one this week because you had business on the weekend, but we have an episode of our weekly podcast coming out on Sunday. Which is a episode of a show we like to call Casting Call. And there's also probably a weekly, an actual weekly release coming from you next week sometime as well.
Great moment. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, so anyway, to wrap this up, I don't think Wanda will turn out to be the bad guy. I think next week we're going to have a lot of action where Sword is going to be basically trying to break down the Hex.
I haven't had a chance to talk about what's going to happen next week because we've been talking about whether or not she's going to be the villain.
So you tell me what you think. That's what you said. I thought that's what you meant.
I just think... Well, no, that was a question we were asked, whether we think she's going to be a villain or not. I just think that this finale is going to be... There's so much was answered and so much was wrapped up in this episode that this week's episode will be just free, open skirmish. It'll be just a big set piece where I don't think we'll have a resolution to any of the conflicts that take place.
Hopefully no.
Yeah, probably. Although I could imagine Wanda. Technically, the Hex is a sky beam. It's a sky polygon.
Oh God, I hope there's no sky beam. I can't stand sky beam.
So. Either way, yeah, I think that's probably all I can really add. It's just going to be an action set piece.
Yeah.
And it'll leave itself open ended so that we can move forward with more story.
Do you think the Hex will come down or the Hex will stay up?
I don't know. This is just a wild theory. I think what'll happen is the Hex will expand and end up consuming the entire universe.
Really?
If not the planet, the entire universe. Yeah.
Well,
and because it's the entire universe, she'll lose her control over everyone. So she'll have changed everything, but she'll no longer be in control of the people within the Hex.
Yeah.
Because she can control people outside the Hex. She controls the Avengers in Avengers Age of Ultron. She has that ability.
I don't think it will be going that far. I think it'll be resolved where I think the Hex will come down. Vision will be alive. Wanda will be alive. Billy and Tommy will be alive. Agatha will kind of vanish. But I think she'll keep popping up.
I'm not even going to hazard a guess who's going to die and who's going to live.
I don't think
like throwing darts at all.
Die.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's not enough came from this episode to sufficiently give me any ideas about what's going to happen with the finale, which is why I'm so excited for it.
Right, yeah. So
you know what I mean? Kind of like if you take Game of Thrones, the later seasons of Game of Thrones, you knew the formula. You knew that basically you'd have this, hello everybody, welcome back to Westeros type episode to start the season. Then you'd have basically a whole bunch of filler episodes with silly cliffhanger endings, and then you'd have a penultimate episode where a whole bunch of shit happened, and then you'd have a finale which essentially sets you up for another cliffhanger.
Yeah.
That's not what WandaVision's doing. WandaVision is a masterclass in how to create mystery and then how to solve it all in the time constraints of a single season.
Yeah.
And also Game of Thrones did do that very well for the first 5 seasons.
Yeah, okay. So I think we've covered everything we wanted to cover. Great discussion again tonight. Look forward to doing it on Friday. Really, Ralph, Kushal wants to know what we think about Ralph, Agatha's off-screen husband. I think that
Pietro. It's the missing person. It's Jimmy's missing person. Ralph is Jimmy's, and yeah.
I think she just drained his life force.
And what if though? What if
well.
Pietro though as well? She said, she's only eyes and ears.
Yeah,
which means she's not controlling him really. She's just using him as a surveillance tool. What if he is an independent force who works with her?
Yeah.
Because I kind of got that impression when he did the Snoop was going to snoop thing in the scene.
So I didn't get that. It's because when she turns around, he's cast purple magic on her. Pietro is just a puppet.
Yeah, well, maybe she's taught him. Whoever this is, she's taught him how to use that.
I think it's just a puppet and a citizen that just happens to look like Evan.
But that's
Peters.
who Ralph is, though.
You think so?
It is, yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll get to find out next week.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're watching after the stream has ended, please let us know what you think in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.
Yep, see you later.